Welcome everyone from the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. It's great that you've joined us today. Once again, we're continuing to look at our parking system repository that's been designed and developed in Enterprise Architect. And today we're continuing our series where we're looking at ArchiMate viewpoints. And the viewpoint that we're looking at today is called the Information Structure Viewpoint. So welcome, Steve. Great to have you here again today. And can you tell us a little bit about the Information Structure Viewpoint?
Thanks for the introduction, Scott, and always a pleasure to be here. Yes, our focus is on enterprise architecture, a very useful discipline in most organizations, and we're looking at ArchiMate, a language and framework that is the de facto language for representations of architectures, enterprise architectures, both business and sort of technology level. So let's get started. As always, I like to go up into the top right-hand corner of the application and set my perspective. The reason for this is it's going to let the tool focus on the things that I want to do. So I'm going to drop that down. I've been doing some mind mapping, which is part of the strategy set of perspectives this morning. Now I want to go and do some enterprise architecture. So as a person using the tool, you may be flicking between different roles that you perform on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, or even at a longer period of time. So today I'm going to choose the ArchiMate perspective. The tool sets its focus onto ArchiMate, and you can see a builder page has opened up with a number of patterns for ArchiMate, basic viewpoint patterns, motivation patterns, etc. Let's just click on one of these and have a look. We've got a number of patterns under the basic viewpoints. This is all organized by the ArchiMate specification itself, by the open group. So let's have a quick look at that information viewpoint. You can see that there are a number of elements there. The pattern tells us, gives us information about what we will get if we inject that pattern in. So this isn't just static text, Scott. This can be injected into your model. So you can create model, and that model that you can see the picture of there will be generated along with the diagram into your models. I encourage people to get the benefit and the productivity gains from using the pattern library. But as always, Scott, I like to do things from first principles. So I'm going to close the builder page and start from scratch. I need to find a location for this viewpoint in the repository. Relatively simple to do. I've got an enterprise node there. I click on that, and let's close a few of these other viewpoints we had open. And here we have the business architecture there and the application architecture. We're dividing these viewpoints up into a number of different categories there. So let's put in one under the business architecture, and it's a bit of a moot point, this one, Scott, because there will be some business objects on it and also some data objects, but let's put it under the business one. That's our focus for the moment, and we're going to put a new package by using the icon up here, the new package icon in the browser toolbar. Click on that, and I'm going to say information structure viewpoint. So as always, Scott, I like to put in some notes about that viewpoint. I do that with every package that I put into the repository, including diagrams and elements and features. So let's put some notes in there, drag this notes window across a little bit, and we've got here some notes. Now, I haven't made these up. These have come from the ArchiMate specification there, and you can see it says the information structure viewpoint is comparable to the traditional information models created and developed in almost any information system. The difference here is that, in a information model, you might be coming from a conceptual through a logical to a physical data model. A similar thing happens in ArchiMate, the way the language is organized, that we can be coming from like a business representation of the data, which we might well call information, or even terms, and then you're going down into deeper layers. So let's have a look at that. I'm just going to quickly show you something, Scott, where this came from. I didn't just make this up, and the tool didn't provide it. I'm going to go over to the library node here. I'm clicking down in the bottom left-hand corner of the application, and you can see that there's a specification there, specification and guidelines group. And I'm going to open this one here. It says the open group ArchiMate resources there. Click on that one there, or double click on it, and what's going to happen is it's going to open up in a browser window. So that's on the on my other monitor. I'm just going to drag that onto this monitor and show you that specification. So very useful in Enterprise Architect to be able to access that just directly from the library, and you can see here information about the viewpoints. So the example viewpoints there, and we could look through those and look for the particular viewpoint that we're interested in. So all the viewpoints are listed there, and we can look at those in the specification, which has been opened up directly from Enterprise Architect. I'm going to close that and just quickly mention here that a team or a group can create guidelines. So these are guidelines that we've created for this particular urban parking system, and they can say ArchiMate modeling best practices, but these can be applied to any system that you're developing. General principles, diagram specific guidelines, viewpoint specific guidelines. So, you know, that's kind of interesting, right? We've got all our viewpoints there, and it can talk about the kind of things that we should be putting into our viewpoint. So there's the information structure viewpoint. Focus on the structure of information rather than processing flow. Show relationships and hierarchies between business objects and data entities. Include data ownership, etc., etc. So I encourage people to create their own best practice guidelines there. I'm going to close that and return to our browser. That's simply just clicking down here in the bottom left where my browser is positioned, and I've got my viewpoint, which is the information structure viewpoint. I'm going to use the arrows in the browser toolbar and just simply reorder that down a little bit lower. So I'll put it there, and I'm going to create a diagram now to start my work on this information structure viewpoint. Simply again, using the project browser toolbar, click on the diagram icon, and the ArchiMate group pops up there, and I've got a number of options here. So let's see if we can find this one here, and we're saying that it was an information structure, and I happen to know that it's in this group here, but we could open up the other ones and look for those as well. So the information structure there, I'm going to create that diagram.
There's a little search icon on the builder page too. So
yeah, exactly,
Scott. Search?
Exactly. So if you've got a lot of them, then you can search for them there as well. So let's just do that and see the functionality there, and we'll put that in, and that will come up with this information structure one. Yeah,
it's limited to the diagram type that you want.
Exactly. So we found it straight away, and we can just delete that search and bring the whole list back up again. Yeah. Information structure. I'm going to create the diagram. I'm in the right location in the project browser. Let's create that, and the tool opens up the toolboxes that are relevant to the particular viewpoint that we're going to have, saving you kind of time having to think about it very much, and also the relationships there. So you see here we've got passive structure, business concepts here. They're the ones in yellow, a business object and a representation. And then down here we've got information structure, we've got artifacts, data objects, and meanings. And we have a common group here with junctions and groupings and things as well. But let's get started. We're going to create an element on our palette there. I'm going to start with a business object, and the business object that's kind of central in a way to this whole thing is really a parking reservation. So I'll put that in. That's what people are actually doing when they're looking for a park, deciding on where they're going to park, making a booking in advance. They're making a reservation at an event or something. So lots of different ways that people can access a parking space. They may just drive up, or they may be making a booking, which is this case here. So I put some notes into that. Remember, that's what we always like to do, is to put some notes in. And so this is a transactional construct that represents a user's commitment to occupy a specific parking space. Now I'm going to look at this. You can see here that a word is underlined, and that's coming from a glossary. You can see data modeling. A vehicle is an automobile or motor vehicle that occupies a parking space. So let's create another element, and it is talking about parking spaces. So let's go and create another business object, and we'll call it a parking space. And let's use the quick linker to line, or the alignment tools to line that up, the quick linker to create a relationship. Let's say that they're associated with each other, and let's put some notes in there for the selected element, which is the parking space. represents a physical or digital representation of a specific parking location. Okay, so where do we go from here? Well, there's all sorts of different things that we can put in here. So one of them is a representation. And this is an interesting one. It's a way of, I guess, a way of representing information in the various forms that it can occur in. So that parking reservation could be in the form, may get information like from an email. So let's put a representation on there, and let's drag that on, and let's call this reservation email. So depending upon the channel settings that you've got set up in the tool, you might get a reservation email like that, and we're going to say that realizes that one. The other thing that I might get, and I'll just put some notes in about that email, and the other thing that might happen is it might come up on a mobile parking app, right? So you might be booking through a mobile parking app. So let's put that, another representation on there. So it's not the thing itself, but the representation of it. So let's put mobile parking app, and we'll put in there reservation. So again, we'll put some notes in for that, link it up again to the parking reservation. And there are a number of other directions that we can go in now, Scott. Let's move down into a service, if you like. So a service, an application service that would be related to this. So we go down in our tool box here, and we can see that there's a data object. So I'm going to put a data object on the palette there, and use the quick linker then to line that up. And I can just click on that element name there, and I'm going to put in session reservation record, session reservation service. Okay, so we've done that. Let's make a connection between here and the business object. So here we've got a data object and a business object. So we're straddling the between a sort of a conceptual model or a model of terms and the beginning of a more structured data representation. So parking reservation, now we've got session reservation. We're starting to use words there. I've made a spelling mistake there, Scott. I'll just fix that up.
It's a session, not a succession.
Yeah, well, so get that right. So let's get you to do some time travel magic, and I'll finish this diagram off.
Welcome back, Stephen. We've done a little bit of editing magic, and we can see the finalized diagram for our information structure viewpoint. So can you tell us a little bit about it and what we've added to the diagram?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Glad to be back here. We've added a number of things. You can see there that there's a urban mobility insight element there in purple, and we've got the basic two levels of our information model, which is the yellow items, which are business objects, and then we've got the aqua ones, which are data objects. So you can see immediately just from that colors, and again that's ArchiMate's color choices, you can see that that's creating an interesting view for people to see that these are two kind of different worlds, kind of like a conceptual data model, a model of terms, and a logical data model. So making those connections to a traditional information modeling in the database world.
And down the bottom, I can see the session is now comprised of a payment record, a motorist record, and a vehicle record. So
exactly,
certainly provides a bit more information about what's in a session. And
yeah, that's where the word structure is important in the viewpoint.
Yes.
So we're looking at the structure of the data, not just how the individual pieces of information or data are related, but the actual structure of it. So this session reservation record contains that, the payment record, the motorist record, and the vehicle record. There might be other things in there as well. For example, special needs might be put into a particular reservation where there might be accessibility issues for someone, and that can be in that as well. But one of my favorite views, Scott, to get a very quick introduction or visualization of what's the important data. So you can see here, again, we've got a business object. And if you look over into the properties window, you can see what type of object these are. And you can see the type is a business object. Yep. And I'm going to tuck my toolbox away. I don't need that at the moment. I'm not constructing anything. But let's just have a quick look at that. So a local parking permit. This is the kind of thing that people get in advance to be able to park outside their property, outside their business premises, or outside a sporting or event location. And you can see the representations here. We've got a digital permit record and a windscreen sticker, both which are representations of that local parking permit. And both of them are valid. Motorists may not have both of them at the same time. And we've got this local parking permit, and we've got a data object there, which is the parking permit.
Represents it. Yeah.
All very useful, Scott. And remember, when you're looking at these diagrams, if you're presenting them to people, I can go to this layout ribbon here. We've looked at the helper panel. If you haven't seen that video, I encourage you to go back and look at it. A powerful facility here. I can put on into presentation mode, and when I'm clicking on an element there, it's highlighting the element for someone to look at. And I can also put on show directions, which I think is a useful thing. And that's going to show me the direction of connectors, and you can see they're changing. I might turn that legend off when I'm doing that. Just show you that as a useful thing to do. I've turned the legend off there now, and now I'm using the show direction. And so when I'm clicking on these elements, you can see
what's incoming and what's outgoing.
What's incoming and what's outgoing. So you can see that very obviously from the colors. And for some elements, it's more important than others, but kind of an interesting view on one of the little tools that Enterprise Architect has for you.
So not only can you print reports, but you can take team members and in a group meeting and step through a diagram and show how it all comes together and discuss it as well.
Exactly, Scott. I like to project these up on a wall during stand-up meetings. So, you can use a slideshow presentation that exists within Enterprise Architect as well, and present these diagrams as part of a sprint. And so you can create sprint-specific diagrams ranging right up here from the ArchiMate level. And of course, the tool does many other things other than just at this enterprise architecture level. It goes down to the solution architecture and right down to the development level. So you could create all those models and interrelate them and flick those through in a stand-up meeting as different people might be presenting their blockers or the things that they happen to be working on in a given day. So lots of opportunity there. And, again, one of my favorite diagrams, the information structure viewpoint.
Excellent. Well, it's great to see another viewpoint in ArchiMate being developed so quickly and easily. Our audience knows the usual comment, like, comment, and subscribe to the Sparx Systems YouTube channel if you've enjoyed the video. And if you want to reach out to Stephen, his credentials are in the description of the video below. Thank you, Stephen, once again. Great to have your expertise, and great to see how comprehensive our urban parking system is becoming in Enterprise Architect.
Always a pleasure, Scott. And remember, we have only just scratched the surface of the tool's capabilities.